mixed numbers. Here we are subtracting mixed numbers. But we don't have matching denominators. We have to ask ourselves, what would be the LCM of 5 and 3? Go ahead, everybody, write this down. We're going to wait for you to do that. We're going to ask ourselves, what is the LCM of 5 and 3? It is 15. Go ahead and write 15 as your new denominator. Now we're going to ask ourselves, how did I go from 3 to 15? Well, you multiplied it by what? You're right, 5. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 2 times 5 is 10. And you ask yourself, 5 times what gives you 15? 3. You are right. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Go ahead, write that down. 3 times 3 is now 9. Well, we have a situation here where you cannot take 10 from 9. But the way you were taught to subtract in kindergarten or first grade, where you had to borrow, is correct. We're going to go ahead and borrow from this whole guy right here, the number 9. The 9 will become a 8. Now you have a whole 1, but you can't put a whole 1 on a fraction. You're going to have to make that whole 1 into a fraction in order to add it to the 9. Well, I know something about the last lesson. If I am going to add anything to a fraction, the denominators have to match, my friends. So that whole 1 that you just borrowed from the 9 has to be in fraction form. And it has to match, hint, 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 this denominator. So it has to be 15 over 15, because I still need it to equal 1. You cannot just pick any number you want. It has to match this number, because that's the only way you get to add it. If that makes sense to you, which it should. Now you're going to be adding 9 with the 15. Get it? 9 plus 15 is going to give you 24. And we're going to put 9 plus 15 is 24. Oops, let me actually cross it out and just put 24 here. I do not want to put it above there. And now I'm going to subtract the 24 minus the 10, and I'm going to end up with 14. Remember, we're subtracting, okay? It's where I'm getting the subtraction. 24 minus 10 is 14. My denominator stays the same, my friends. I am not trying to change that denominator. It's going to be 15. Now I can subtract those whole numbers. 8 minus 7 is 1. Bada bing, bada boom. 1 and 14, 15. To repeat, when I changed my denominators to matching denominators, what I did to the bottom, I did to the top. This one turned into 15 because I multiplied it by 5, and then I did 2 times 5 is 10. This 5 turned into 15 when I multiplied it by 3. And what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 3 times 3. I ended up with 9. And then I went, whoopsie, I cannot take 10 from 9. I'm going to borrow like my first grade teachers taught me to borrow. This 9 will borrow from the whole number. And I borrowed 1 whole. But whoopsie, I can't put a whole on top of a fraction. I have to make this into fraction form. And we know from the last lesson that I cannot add anything to this unless it has a matching denominator, which is why I did 15, 15, because it still stays 1. Then I took that 15 and I added it to 9. 9 plus 15 gave me 24. When I got the 24, then and only then could I subtract it by the 10. 24 minus 10 gave me 14. I kept my denominator 15, and I skedaddled over here, whoop-a-doop, and I subtracted 8 minus 7, and I got 1. And then I'm done.